Mega Man the Wily Wars? Get that garbage out of here! It's all about Mega Man the Waifu Wars now.
Yeah, baby!
Hey guys, ShadowRock here with your Mega News Roundup for the week of June 7th. This week, Rockman X DiVE is heating up, literally, for the Burning Bride of June event. I get it, they're hot. Our characters for this event centers around the Navigators, which means obviously we have Elia and Lair. Nope, no husbandos this time around. No Iris even, which is kinda surprising. But you probably understand why a bit later. People have been saying for ages that Rockman X DiVE has too much fan service for the female characters in the roster, playing way too much into the waifu aspect. Well, now they done did it because they're literal waifus now, all according to Land. Now speaking of their design on the whole, I gotta say props to Capcom here. I mean, it's still fan service, but the designs here go for the more elegant route rather than just straight up revealing. And for once, they didn't make the jiggle physics the center of attention on Lair's animation, which is probably a first for her actually. It could have been gone entirely if they didn't go for that first sword swing before she transformed, but at the very least, it is toned down considerably compared to the other Lair characters we've had. See, Capcom, you can show Lair's shy personality without relying on the physics. Meanwhile, Bridal Elia's animation adds the confetti poppers, so we don't have to edit it in ourselves when we pull her. Thanks, Capcom. The rest is pretty standard, transformation, showing off the dress a bit, and yeah, moving on to the skills. So, Bridal Elia actually just literally steals Valentine CL's moveset. Makes you wonder if they were going to waifu up CL at some point. Anyway, the first skill is called Hurl Bouquet, where kind of like the Cyber Elf Passy skill, she'll throw bouquets at enemies that lock on. One of the skill cards gives you a chance to get an additional level of enhanced defense when you hit a target. The second skill then is Chimes of Joy, or should I say Chimes of Joey. Yeah? So again, this is copying CL's own CL system type skills. This time around, it's based on giving you defense buffs. We can even see Bridal Elia gaining a shield when the skill is activated, which is one of the passives that you can unlock. The other passive skill they share with us is something that's going to be useful in PvP. If there is another player that is within range of Chimes of Joy, if they can't resist the urge to use a weapon or skill, they will be stunned. So in other words, in order to escape the Chimes of Joy, you're just going to have to flee rather than fight. Definitely a surefire way to create some space between you and your foe, assuming they don't have the status guard shield that is. Meanwhile, one of the skill cards does a lot actually. The trailer words it really weird like, because of course it does, so I'll attempt to explain it in a way that makes more sense. Basically, with a skill card, activating Chimes of Joy gives you an attack buff, and how powerful the attack buff is and the duration of it depends on the defense buffs you've been building up by using both the Hurl Bouquet and the Chimes of Joy, which is implied that both of them will give you defense buffs. And nice enough for the trailer, they actually show us how to use Bridal Elia. Use the two skills to maintain the defensive status, then use Chimes of Joy to defeat the target. Yeah, that about sums it up. Alright, let's see what Bridal Lair has for us then. Her first skill is called Ring of Solemn Vow. Wow, she has a ring too. Dang. Wonder who the lucky Reploid is. Anyway, this skill creates a ring around its target. It'll do damage, but also in PvP, it will stun your foe as well with one of the skill cards. And by the way, this skill card effect cannot be removed, and it ignores the status guard shield. So if you think you're going to abuse that, think again. Lair just said no. You're gonna simp for her and you're gonna like it. The skill that's gonna give you your big damage, however, is Cut the Cake. Lair will summon the cake and then cut it with her rapier, dealing a pretty good chunk of damage. That damage is increased even further with one of her passive skills, which works on immobile targets. So the idea is to start off with Ring of Solemn Vow, and then follow up with Cut the Cake for the big damage. The trailer also mentions adding a shield, but we don't see a shield in the trailer, so hard to say where that comes from exactly. Unless the cake she summons is that shield. Anyway, last but not least is, you guessed it, the Gator Fangs weapon, which uses the head of Bifrost the Crocoroid from Mega Man ZX Advent. This is another snow type sprayer, but this time, rather than straight up spraying, this one fires a series of condensed blasts, and both fire rate and reload time is reduced when you are close to your target. A weapon that encourages you to get really close and personal. I guess we'll see how that will work out for you in PvP. Well, that's all our Rockman X DiVE news for today. Thank you so much for watching, and wait a second. I think we're forgetting somebody. Oh no! Everybody forgot about the third navigator! And now she's back for revenge as the boss for the event stage. Oh dear. Yep. From White Day, to swimsuits, to weddings, Palette hasn't gotten anything at all. Just a silly yukata. Gee, I wonder why, haha. Well, Palette has had enough of it and she's here to crash this wedding. She didn't even bring a dress for the occasion. She's just that much of a rebel. Okay, let's be honest, Capcom Taiwan just didn't give her a dress. So, we got that to look forward to in this story. Mega Man the Waifu Wars is real. I don't know how the D-Block is going to survive this time. But speaking about the bridal event itself, we see the highway stage from X1 being used as a base, just rebranded as a wedding. And of course, several of the enemies here are wedding themed as well. And I want to say the background might be from Mega Man Legends, but that's just my guess. Throughout the stage, we even catch up with Bridal Elia and Bridal Lair. Oh boy, it's the Valentine's Day event all over again. Now Player-san must become the ultimate simp, if he wasn't already. And you must fight on behalf of all the Player-sons that left Palette at the altar, when you fight her at the very end. How poetic. Oh yeah, I haven't even mentioned the best part. This event starts on June 9th, which actually is the fan holiday for Rockman Day, but also 69. Nice. Both the banner and the event will be going on from 2 weeks from that point until June 23rd. So the vast majority of the month is dedicated to this. Of course, Bridal Lair and Elia are limited characters, so if you want them, you better start pulling. But the Gator Fangs appears to be a permanent weapon, so that's something at least. And that really does do it for Rockman X DiVE for now. The next thing I want to share with you guys is Mega Man Fully Charged. Yeah, remember that show? Well, for the longest time, Mega Man Fully Charged has unfortunately been locked behind a paywall. You had to have a Cartoon Network subscription or a cable box, and then you would use your subscription to the cable service to access the Cartoon Network website to watch the show. And yeah, between that and Cartoon Network outright refusing to give Mega Man Fully Charged an actually reasonable time slot, like straight up, they had it at 6 in the morning on a Sunday. Who wants to get up that early on a Sunday? And the 1 week they actually had it during the weekday, it was like at noon when most kids were still in school. What were they thinking? Well, clearly they wanted the show to die from the beginning. And now recently we've heard that due to creative differences, Season 2 ain't happening at all. At least, not now. Well, why am I talking about all this again? Because Mega Man Fully Charged has made its way to Amazon. At long last, escaping the confines of Cartoon Network, you can now purchase the first 26 episodes of Mega Man Fully Charged on the Amazon streaming service. They go for $2 a piece for the HD version, and if you want to lower the cost, you can go for the standard definition version for $1. So there you go. Even though it's not free, and I'm sure you can look up the episodes for free, but that's not what this is about. At least now the show is available on a platform that's more likely that it's going to get seen. I guess technically it's still behind a paywall, but it's a way more reasonable paywall. And the idea is that maybe this show will finally get some of that attention it needed. It definitely makes it way more accessible for anyone that's interested in checking it out, that's for sure. If you are at all interested in checking out the show, I'll have a link to that in the description below. And if you want my personal recommendation, the show only really starts to pick up as something pretty decent around episodes 9 and 10, where the overarching plot starts to really rev up. By that, I'm talking about the Lightfall arc, of course. I don't know what happened, but the first 10 episodes is like pretty cringe, but then after Lightfall and on, it almost becomes a bit of a more competent show. Of course, this isn't all that Fully Charged has. We're still missing the other half of the series, but hopefully they come out sooner than later. Again, link in the description if you care at all. I want to end off this video with a little reminder then. Obviously, anyone who pays attention to the gaming space knows that E3 is finally back this year, with E3 2021 in a digital format this time. What does Christmas for gaming got for us this year? Well, obviously we have all the usual suspects, Xbox, Nintendo, no PlayStation though, because they don't seem to be interested in E3 as of a few years ago. But for our purposes, Capcom actually has their own presentation on Monday, June 14th at an unannounced time. And Capcom's presentation is kind of bundled in with other developers like Take-Two, Mythical Games, Freedom Games, and some other stuff. Obviously, the big question is Mega Man going to appear at this Capcom conference? Well, probably not. We did have that ransomware leak unfortunately happen, and as part of that we found out about a title called Rockman Tyson, which we have no idea what that could be. All we know is that it has a pretty dang sizable budget for a Mega Man game, and they're really shooting for the moon with the sales expectation of like 2 million units, which is more than any Mega Man game in its entire history has ever done. Oh, and it's slated for 2022, which means it's far enough out that I don't think we'll see it this year. Maybe at the end of this year, if anything, but I don't think it's going to be at E3. Capcom doesn't even really do Mega Man announcements at E3. As for collections, that's another thing where if they announce a collection during the E3 show, it's going to get buried underneath all the other big games being announced at that time. So I really do think a collection would be announced outside of E3. The only sign right now pointing towards a collection comes from the ransomware leak once again, where it was revealed that the source code for the Misadventures of Tron Bonne was not only out in the open rather than being archived, but it was in the active state, implying that Capcom is working on it. Also implying that they may be working on a Mega Man Legends Legacy collection rather than a Battle Network one. Other than that, it's hard to say, but I do think we might not see a collection until like 2022. Especially if we're talking about the same team that worked on Mega Man X Legacy Collection and Mega Man 0 and ZX Legacy Collection. There was about a 1.5 year gap between X Legacy Collection coming out and 0ZX being announced. Then again, it is about a 1.5 years since 0ZX right now, so anything can happen. Whether that's before E3 or after E3, but I don't think it's going to be at the show once again. I said I wouldn't cover the ransomware stuff, but I at least wanted you to know what to expect going into E3. My personal take is, there's not going to be any Mega Man at E3 in the slightest, but I would love to be wrong, and since many of you had voted in the polls, I am going to be doing reactions to all the E3 stuff, including Xbox, Nintendo, Square Enix, and if I can, even the Capcom presentation. I think we're obligated to do that one, right? But hey, no matter what happens, on June 16th, we do have that Blaster Master 03 demo to check out. So at least we'll get to end off E3 with a blast nonetheless. Guys, thank you so much for watching. That will do it for today's Mega News Roundup. As always, stay tuned to ShadowRockZX for all things Mega Man. A big thank you to all of our ShadowRockZX channel members as well, including GA class supporters, Ray Stinger, Adrian Cauldron, Kaibaman41, Fent Crystals, Rose Maverick Saiyan, LML123, Rico Syndrome, and Austin Buford. You guys are awesome, thank you so much. We'll see you this Wednesday on 69 for the Rockman X DiVE stream. In the meantime, let's begin a waifu wars of our own in the comments. Who was your favorite bridal character? Ilya or Lair? It's a tough choice, but I think I have to go for Lair for this one. I'm just surprised they made her way more elegant than the past characters they did for her. It's good stuff to see, and she looks powerful on top of that. Alright, let the waifu wars begin, and we'll see you next time. Rock on and have a great day or night.